What's up, Kansas City? This is your girl, Linda, and welcome to another episode of It's My Home KC. And today we have another very special guest at the studio. And before we get to her, let me tell you a little bit more about It's My Home KC. It's My Home KC is all about the local community here in Kansas City or the greater Kansas City. We want to talk about the things that are going on in KC. We want to inspire the local community. We want to grow our local community. And if you've not joined part of this journey, please make sure to join us. Always subscribe. We have very, very interesting topics that we talk about, very interesting people that we host on the studio. So yeah, before we get to our guest, can you take a moment? If you need 5 seconds, take that 5 seconds. Click on that subscribe button and we will be ready to tell you all about our guest today. Today in the studio, we have Linda with Sons of Time. She's a partner with LifeWave. This is a business that she's going to tell us all about it. She was also an RN, or she's actually currently an RN, but she's not practicing at the moment. And so welcome to the studio today, Linda.
Hi, thank you.
Since I know I probably didn't do some justice to your introduction, what would you like to tell us about yourself?
Well, I am an RN, and I've been an RN since 1993, but I am not practicing at a hospital or anything like that right now. I actually took my expertise, and when we found LifeWave, which is a stem cell stimulating company, then I started focusing more on that. And with that, then I've been able to look into it, research out the product, make sure that everything that it says it can do, that it does. For an entire year before we ever actually endorsed LifeWave or the stem cell patches, we actually tried to prove it wrong. And when I say we, my husband is an MD, and we did try to prove the product wrong because what it can do is like all life-changing, and it shouldn't be able to do that as simply as it does. Mm-hmm. And so we tried for a year to give it out to people and have them give us their feedback without telling them anything of the product because we wanted no placebo effect. Mm-hmm. And everything just kept coming back as like miraculous what was going on with these people. So at about a year in, we had a little party, invited about 10 people over, had 30 people show up. Everybody was interested in the product. And so at that time is when we decided that we would endorse LifeWave and actually make a business out of it.
Oh, wow. But before we get to the LifeWave time of your life, can we talk a little bit more before 1993, before you decided to become an RN? What was your life like?
Well, I grew up on a farm in a small community. It was about 3,500 people in El Dorado Springs, Missouri, so southwest Missouri. Mm-hmm. And I was the fifth of five. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people have asked me throughout my career, you know, how was it growing up being poor? Mm-hmm. And I've always told people that I didn't grow up poor. We grew up without money, mm-hmm. but we had everything we ever needed. We might have wanted for a lot of things, but being in a farming community, we grew all of our own food and everything else. Were we the popular kids? No, because we didn't have the designer clothes or anything like that. But, you know, my parents always made sure that we had. And so I tell everybody that we didn't grow up poor. We grew up privileged because we grew up with a work ethic and we knew how to work.
Oh, wow. That is amazing. I feel like crying already. People don't realize how much there is until you're lacking, right?
Yes.
How much you have in the people you have around you, and that is interesting. And you said you were born of a family of five, being the fifth. Mm-hmm. How is that like?
Well, there was three older kids. So my two sisters and my brother were 2 years apart. And then there was a gap. And then my brother, that's 13 months from me, we kind of were at the end of it. So everything, it seemed, was the first three did everything. So then my brother and I kind of squeaked through the cracks, you know. So we were the handy-down kids that, you know, everybody had already done it. I was big in agriculture, being from a farming community. And so my oldest brother, he's the one that had set all of the stages in agriculture, because when my two sisters were in school, agriculture wasn't a big thing for girls. And so he was the first one into the ag scene, or FFA, through the schools. And so then I filled his footsteps. So I was actually known as Little Floyd a lot in high school and college. So because I followed right into the same farming college that he had went into. So yeah.
Yeah, for those probably who don't know Linda or just want to know a little bit more about her, she actually owns a very beautiful home here, a really big home, and also it's in 38 acres of land, and that is huge. I think that is. Who did you steal this house again from? I know you said somebody was trying to buy it from the Chiefs in you.
Oh, actually, yeah. No, at one time when we came in to look at the house, we were informed that Tyreek Hill had actually looked at buying the home, and but then he was actually traded off to the Dolphins. So luckily, no, I'm just kidding.
Actually, there's rumors that he might be coming back. What do you think about that?
I would take Tyreek back in a heartbeat.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Somebody said he has too much drama.
He does have a lot of drama, but what a player can do on the field is what I'm looking at in a football team. It doesn't matter what their home life is. I can overlook a lot of home life to know what's going on in the field. Somebody
on their Instagram story said, when Rashee Rice had all the accidents and it was a hit and run. And then after that, he came back and the season started and he was doing very well before he had his injury. And somebody said, what do we do as Chiefs fans? Do we forgive him? Or do we not just look past the accident that happened, And I'm like, okay, as a Chiefs fan, I don't know. I think I want to forgive him. What would your feeling be on that?
Like I said, what they do outside is what they do outside. I'm a true hard Chiefs fan, and I like this winning phase. And if it takes them to win. Now, I don't want to bring in somebody else's problems, but these are our homegrown guys, they're the ones that they started here and, let's keep them here and that type of thing. I always hate it when we have to trade people off. And, when Snead had to go this year, I was like, no, because I get attached to the players, but I want to win.
Don't we?
Exactly.
Are you thinking we're going to win all the way?
Yes, we are.
Wouldn't that be nice?
We are going to three-peat.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yes.
Undefeated.
Yes. Well, I don't know about undefeated. I've seen, because any game can go any way at any given day. But, three-peat, yes. I do think we're taking the Super Bowl.
What do you think the Chiefs do to our local community? What is the biggest takeaway that our local community take from the Chiefs?
I just think they bring a lot of excitement to the city, and it's something that the city can be proud of. When you've got a sports team that's winning, it's very easy to be proud of them. The Chiefs, though, they've been around so long that even when they were losing, the community was still proud of them. What our 2-14 season, but it's just the community. We're built around the Chiefs and the Royals, and and I even like to go further because I love hockey, so KC Mavericks.
Oh, you have the KC Mavericks. Oh, my God. Tell us a little bit more about how you're involved with the Mavericks and all that.
Well, last year we actually, with Sands of Time, we did a sponsorship with them, and we were able to go into the training rooms right before the playoffs and work with the players with LifeWave and actually help boost and, support what was going on with them. So that was a big, interesting moment for us.
Did they have to use the LifeWave step? Can you show everybody what that looks like?
It's this our little patch here. This is called LifeWave. That's our X39 patch.
That is the magic that she gets. You see her face. I won't tell you how old she is, but And so you were sponsoring them with the LifeWave patches. Were they using it?
Well, during that period that we went into the rooms and stuff, then we took on about 6 of the players, and they did utilize it throughout that playoff there. And we took some of the players. We took some of the players from about 70% up to 85 overnight, and had them completely playing then on that Friday, Saturday, and Monday game.
Oh wow, that's amazing! I know personally, and a lot of people out there probably struggle with staying fit, staying healthy. And backaches, sometimes aches. Generally, we get used to aching so much that we just live with it.
Yes.
And pain, especially even in women, is something that women struggle. We just known to hold on to so much. And so when you get something like that can take your pain off like that.
Right. And our thresholds seem to be higher I'm not, knocking men, but just watching my mom grow up and growing up on the farm and doing everything that we did, we didn't run to the ER. We didn't, run to the doctor, whatever. And we were out, we were barefoot. We stepped on rusty nails. We did it all. And we weren't at the doctor's office. But watching her, knowing that she was in pain and then following into those footsteps. I don't want to take a medication. I don't want to do this. Even as a nurse, knowing that, this could help. It's just something that we put into our mindset. And we see that a lot with people that actually do start utilizing the LifeWave product. They forget that they had pain after they no longer have pain.
And so they stop.
And a lot of people will say, well, I don't know that it's helping me anymore. And it's like, well, go off of it for a few months, you'll know. But it's just an alternative way of increasing what you can do with your life without being in pain.
And I know you're a very active person. You go to the gym almost every day. Is it every day? Is it safe to say every day in the morning?
No. I only go about 4 to 5 times a week.
Oh, that is every day for some of us. You can barely get in once a week. I've literally changed my gym to think that it will help, but it doesn't. But I know you're a very active person, and rumors has it you wake up so early in the morning. What time in the morning do you wake up?
I get up at 4 a.m. every morning.
Why?
I get up. It started when I did get married to my current husband, and I would get up and I cook breakfast every morning for him so that he can get out of the house. He's a medical doctor, an MD, and so he gets out of the house early, but he works out before I cook breakfast. So he's up actually prior to me being up, and I cook his breakfast. That way he can have his shower and everything and be out of the house by 5:30 so that he can get to the hospitals and then to his office in time.
And you still maintain that to date, to waking up that early at 4 a.m. in the morning?
Yep. And that is 7 days a week.
And that is by choice that people like. I can barely wake up at 7 by choice. And some people would probably consider you crazy for quitting your RN to do this full time, to do the sound wave. What would you tell them? Everybody is different. Working as a floor nurse, hands-on care, I absolutely loved it. But I'm the type of person that when I go in, then somebody's going to grab you up and they're going to say, hey, we want you to do this. And I always want a challenge. And so I would take those challenge on. So by the time I was 24, I was already director of nursing at large nursing facilities. And once you learn the business side of nursing, it's hard to come back down to the caring side of nursing. And when you're a caring person and you want to help everybody, but you know the business side of it, and it's always a struggle. It was an internal struggle for me of, do I do what's right for the patients all the time, and I want to give them more, but yet I had to watch that bottom line of the company. And so then you are in that, and then you throw in the employees on top of it because you're responsible for them, and you're like, I need to give them everything that you can possibly give them because they're the ones caring for the residents, which are the ones that are actually driving the bottom line and it was just this big internal struggle that it was very hard and very stressful on somebody that wants to do nothing but care for people. Oh, I hear you, because that is a lot of struggle, really, because you have to think about your employees, your patients, and you also have to think about the bottom line. And sometimes those three things don't.
It's hard. It really is. It's where do you give, and you never want to give on patient care because they're what you're there for. But you want to keep the best employees, but how do I do that? So that was a very, hardening part of my life. And then some of the facilities I worked for, I was subpoenaed in front of a grand jury and I had to testify, and basically my testimony, they subpoenaed me the prosecuting attorney had subpoenaed me trying to get me to testify against the company that I was working for. And so I was shipped off to DC to prep and everything for all of that. I did at the age of, I think I was 26, 27 years old, testified in front of the grand jury, which was highly interesting because you don't get your lawyer in there. It's you and them and 28 jurors.
Are they very intimidating?
I was so prepared by the company that I worked for that I was not intimidated. I knew it was on 7 different charts. I knew those charts like the back of my hand. Now we're talking nursing home charts though. So we're talking charts that were like this. I knew them like the back of my hand. I knew every patient because I took on everything. And that was a 300 bed facility. So it was a very large facility.
Wow.
But when I went in and testified, you've never done it. So you kind of are learning as you're doing it. And my lawyers had prepped me that there is specific things you don't, if they go down that line of testifying, you just say, I need a break and go talk to your lawyer. And so they were trying to take you down those rabbit holes, but he had prepped me well enough that I knew not to answer those questions. And because those were questions they can't lead you on. And so they would come, he would tell them that they can't do that. And so we'd go back in and we'd start over again type thing. And it got to the point, though, that when it come down to questioning us, because I knew the charge so much better than they did, that they would have you read certain things and they would have it highlighted. Well, I knew what the next sentence or two would say. So I would just keep reading, which then would upset them when they were arguing back and forth, their prosecuting attorney and their expert that they had in there. So when it came to questioning, now nobody had ever told me how you get questioned in a grand jury. But so the prosecuting attorney calls on the first person, and his first question was something that I had not said. The prosecuting attorney had brought up this thing, but it was not anything that had went on. So I just said, well, I don't know the answer to that question because he's the one that brought it up. So maybe you should direct it to him. And then I just went ahead and I was like, juror number 2. And I just started taking over, got done with all the questioning. I think the prosecuting attorney was like picking up his, chin by that point, got done, walked out. And I looked at my attorney and I was like, Ralph, was I supposed to take over questioning? He was like,
No.
You didn't, Linda. And I was like, yes, I did. He was like, oh man, if I could only been a fly on the wall. But yeah, so.
Do you think being from a family of 5, do you think that helped you because now you were used to being able to take your space in the room and stand up for yourself?
Oh yeah, my upbringing my upbringing has helped me through my life. As a lot of people try to put down farmers and country grown people, and I call myself a country bumpkin. But what they don't know is the resilience that we grew up with has put us to the place that we are now.
I like that. So how did you transition from being a farm girl to an RN and now to a business owner? How did that happen?
Well, when I went to college, I went on agriculture scholarships. I was going to go into agribusiness. And I had a sister-in-law at that point that was an RN. And she informed me how much better she was than I was because she was an RN. And I was going into farming. And so her and I had this discussion and I informed her that anybody could be an RN. And so at that point, I switched majors, changed everything over, had none of my prereqs out of the way. I got into a college that it was the same college. It was an agriculture college, but they had a nursing program. And at that point, they took, I think, 20 or 30, and they had over 200 applicants.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of them had tried several years to get into this program. I wasn't even through my prereqs, but I was a farm kid. So everything was, you just handled it. And at the time of our interviews, I had strep throat. And back in those days, chloroseptic was about 15% alcohol. And I was drinking chloroseptic because my throat was like so dry. I was like spitting up clumps of, the white stuff that's on the back of your throats because I didn't have a doctor there or anything. And so I went into my interview probably pretty hammered. And but I had no fear whatsoever. I wasn't nervous.
Did it help?
It did because they were asking questions. What would you do? And you were just like, and being with the farm background, it helped it. And I walked out of there and people was like, well, you're not going to make it because you're not even through your prerequisites. I'm like making A's in all 3 classes that I had that were for prerequisite. I'm like, whatever. I said, I'm going to be in this program because I just don't say no. And so, challenge accepted. And I was accepted into the program. There was 3 of us that were young. We were all 18 or 19 years old when we were accepted in. And then it was kind of a non-traditional nursing program. So we had a lot of older people also accepted in. But it was a good program, a lot of hands-on. The teachers let you learn as much as you wanted. You got to pick your own patients. So I didn't pick the easy patients. I picked the, liver failure patients and stuff like that. So I had to do a lot of extra work, but that's what I wanted to do to learn.
I think it's a Linda there.
I think so. I truly do. Now, I never wanted to go into pediatrics, and I told my teachers and professors right up front, I don't want to do pediatrics. If you need somebody else in those rotations, please put them in there. I said gerontology will be my specialty. I said, because if somebody, if I mess up and kill somebody, I want them to have lived a good life.
Right.
And that's the attitude that I always had. I'd grown up with my aunt, who was a senior citizen. I always went on every Thursday night. We went to the little community center in El Dorado Springs, and I went dancing with all the senior citizens. It was me and one other young kid that their grandmother brought him, and we danced with all the senior citizens. So I've always been a senior person that loves to work with the senior, and that's where I wanted to be.
Oh, look at where life has gotten you today.
Exactly.
Would you say that is mostly your mindset?
Well, it's never giving up on a challenge. If somebody challenges me that says, you can't do, that's what I'm going to do.
Exactly what they said.
You've heard that saying, hold my beer. Because here comes Linda.
Yeah, here comes Linda. And so what would you tell your younger self right now?
Just never give up. That, there'll always be a better day.
Is there a lot of things that you gave up when you were younger?
I didn't do a lot of things that a lot of kids did because we didn't have the funding for it. So a lot of sports and stuff, we couldn't be involved with the sports because it cost a lot of money. And plus, you had to be at the practices, even during the summer. Well, during the summer, we were very important entities to our family. We were the labor. So I didn't do that, And it's not that my parents ever told me I couldn't, because I could have. I did cheerleading. Well, they put me on a varsity squad. Well, all of my friends were on the junior varsity squad. So that was the last year I cheered because I stood 4'9" at that point, and I was the base for everybody because, of course, do a back bend. We're going to do this cheer on you, that type of thing. Do the splits. We're going to stand on your shoulders. I was like, I can be walked on at home.
Well, that is actually really interesting because I know you're very active right now. And you do, as I said earlier, you go to the gym every day, you lift weights, and you even told me you once tore whatever that is called.
My rotator cuff.
I need to go get an iron myself. And you can date me clearly on when it comes to doing the push-ups too. When did you decide that, even with however old you are right now, when did you decide to be very active like that?
It was probably about 11, 12 years ago is when I needed to make a change in my life, because at that point I had gained weight, wasn't happy with what I was doing with myself, wasn't eating right, aches and pains, and I found this program online that said, hey, come in and lose 20 pounds in 6 weeks. And so I was like, hey, sign me up. So I went in, and it was one of those programs that was, if you lose the 20 pounds in 6 weeks, it's free. If you don't, you pay $500. Again, hold
Challenge.
my beer. Challenge accepted. So it was a lot to lose, and I will never eat another tilapia fish in my life. But it was a lot, but it got me hooked on lifting and doing things, because in growing up we never had to weight lift or anything because we were always lifting everything else. But in real life, adult life, you don't have that. You're doing whatever, you're working for somebody. So at that point I started into just working out in class gyms, or in that same gym, but it was just in classes. But then they offered like a strength program and stuff, and the more I got into lifting, the more I just loved lifting. And so I did that for 5 years. And then I wanted to go to the next level. So I actually switched gyms over to one over on the Missouri side. And at that point, I was doing strongman, and I was training for the first strongman competition of my life, which I was almost 50 at that point.
Oh, wow.
And, but I was like, I can do this. And so it was right before COVID, and they shut down the competition the week before I got to compete. And so the world was shut down. So no gym life, no nothing. You had to do anything at home. Well, I was so into working out that I needed to work out. So all of these online programs came out, free, everything that you just worked out at home, cardio body weight, which I was a lifter, not cardio body weight. Doing that, I proceeded to tear a rotator cuff. But again, this is during COVID. I am not having surgery. I am not going to a hospital. I am not even having physical therapy because I don't want contact with people. And so I just dealt with it. I had no range of motion in the left arm. I had to, down here at my side was about it. And that's when we found LifeWave though. And when we did find LifeWave and we started utilizing it, we had no earthly idea it would work. And my brother is actually the one that found it, because if you would have introduced it to myself or my husband, being an RN and an MD, being Western medicine trained, we would have looked at you and said, no way.
Skepticism.
Exactly. We would have never even looked at the product. So I'm glad we were introduced the way we did. But my brother had blood sugar issues, and he was running like a 350 on his blood sugars, which is very, very high. And that was on as much metformin as his body would tolerate, plus being diet controlled. So he was given a pack of these X39 patches and told, wear them 12 hours a day. Don't ask me any questions. I'm going to give this to you type thing. So he calls though, because he's on his way home and he's eating really bad all day long. His blood sugars would have normally been around a 400. Well, he calls me late in the evening and he was like, hey, my blood sugar's a 289. I'm like, hey, that's horrible. And he's like, no. Explains his story. And I was like, oh. And so he's wanting me to research everything for him. And I am like, whatever. I'm writing it down. He's calling me late at night. I'm a 4 a.m. girl. I don't do research late at night, especially on something that I think is not, working or gonna work for you. So he texted me the next evening that his blood sugars was a 249.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, that's a 100-point drop in a 48-hour period for him. And I was like, whatever. I'm still not doing anything with it. The third evening, though, when he texted me that he was at a 125, that's when I picked up the phone and I called him. And I was like, okay. Now, I didn't immediately jump on board that this is the best product ever. Oh my gosh. I was like, if you can take 10 of those patches. Now, again, I don't know how much they cost. I know nothing about them at this point. I didn't care. I was like, if you can take 10 patches and give them to our other brother, who same type of thing, but was paraplegic with wounds and, chronic infections and everything else. If they can do the same thing for him, then you can have that guy call me. And they did the exact same thing for him. Maybe not lowered him down to that 125, but my other brother wasn't as diet controlled, and he would go to bed eating, cupcakes every night. So, you can only do so much. You have to do something for your body. And so at that point is when I got into LifeWave. But about 3 months in, I actually had complete range of motion in my left arm. And I was like, whoa, because we had no idea what they would do.
It's like a miracle now.
Exactly.
That is so interesting. And tell us a little bit more about your property. How many bedrooms is it? How big it is? How much was it? I'm so keen. We were going to show you a little bit video of the property, but tell us a little bit more about your property.
Well, it is 38 acres, and the house itself, it was built in 2010.
Oh, wow.
So, and it's 11,655 square feet, but who's counting, right? It is a 5-bedroom property. And people say, but that's a big house for 5 bedrooms, but they are 5-bedroom suites. We do have 10 bathrooms and 6 fireplaces. So that's kind of how it is. We do have 2 outdoor fireplaces. We have a big outdoor patio. That type of thing.
You have a private lake?
We do. We do have a 10-acre lake. We do share it with just a couple of neighbors. One neighbor doesn't live in the area, but the other one is just across the lake. It's well stocked, and a lot of our friends come over because they like to go fishing. Yeah,
we would like to come fishing too.
Yes.
And if you don't mind my asking, how much was the property?
It was just under 2.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And I don't mean $2, no.
Yeah. No.
It's on the M's.
Yeah.
Wow. That is amazing. Do you have anything to tell the people of Kansas City today?
Just, Kansas City is a great place to be, coming from the country and everything. There's so many takeaways from the country, but when you can actually be in a city and live outside of it like we do and still have all the amenities of the city, it's a great place to be with all the sports and everything going on around here. There's, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else right now.
Right. We love our Chiefs too. I know Linda.
And our Mavericks.
And the Mavericks, and the Royals, and everybody else in between. But
exactly.
The Chiefs. But that is all from us today. It was really nice and lovely to have Linda today at the studio. And if you enjoy listening to these videos, please don't forget to subscribe. We always have interesting conversations over here. And this is It's My Home KC. It's sponsored by Cradle Identity, an influencer marketing company, and Superior Imaging, a video production company, which is all about, he's the one doing the videos. Prince on the other side of the camera is the one taking all the videos and the pictures. And if you're looking to get involved or if you want to share your story on this platform, let me know on the comments down below and we'll reach out and get to hear your story. Otherwise, that is all from us today. Have a good day. Ciao.